Hi, my name is Ben Alexander and I have autism. I'll be honest, I have never heard of Tourette syndrome in my life until I watched clips of TLC's Balin Out Loud on Instagram. And I am very appreciative TLC is really sharing the Balin story of Tourette syndrome because I've learned so much of Tourette syndrome by watching the clips on Instagram, even though I haven't watched a full show from beginning to end quite yet because I'm not sure if I have TLC on my TV or not. But yeah. And I guess learning about her story kind of led me to this video idea. It's like, maybe this would be a good topic to talk about. Tourette syndrome seems, I could see the similarities between autism and Tourette syndrome, and I kind of wanted to find out a little bit more about it. So I did do a Google search of what Tourette syndrome is, and here's what I found. Tourette syndrome is a neurological disorder characterized by involuntary repetitive movements or sounds called tics. This can be either motor or vocal and typically begin in childhood. Here's a more detailed explanation. What are tics? Tics are sudden, brief, and often repetitive movements or sounds that a person cannot easily control. Types of tics. Motor tics involve body movements such as blinking, shrugging, or jerking an arm. Vocal tics involve sounds such as throat clearing, grunting, or repeating words or phrases. Onset and duration. Symptoms usually start in childhood, typically between the ages of 2 and 15, and can vary in severity over time. Diagnosis. There isn't a specific test for Tourette syndrome, and the diagnosis is based on the histories and of signs and symptoms, including the presence of both motor and vocal tics for more than a year. Other conditions. People with Tourette syndrome may also experience other conditions such as attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD, or OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Treatment. While there's no cure for Tourette syndrome, treatment options include behavioral therapies and, in some cases, medication to manage symptoms. Coprolilla, which often portrayed in media, only a small percentage of people with Tourette syndrome experience coprolilla. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that word, which is the involuntary use of obscene language. Premonitory sensations. Many people with Tourette's experience a strong urge before a tic, which has been compared to the feeling you get before needing to itch or sneeze. Wow. So I do see a lot of these tics while watching Instagram Reels of Balin's show. Like, you could tell, like, sometimes she'll use the coprolilla, whatever that word is, which is basically the use of obscene language. Yeah, and then, she'll make ticking noises for sure. And I'll be honest, it was kind of jarring at first, but then the more I understood about it, I was like, oh, it makes sense. This actually makes sense. And I can realize, on the spectrum, people don't realize what autism is. The good news is I could also realize, I don't know what Tourette's is, and I'm not going to judge or hold anything against her, because I don't know what Tourette's is, and I just would like to listen to stories of people with Tourette's. And if you do have Tourette's and you are watching, feel free to comment down in the comments, because I love to listen and hear your story, because I like learning new things about people, and I like to be able to make sure that I can get everybody's voices heard. I definitely want all perspectives possible here, because again, I want to value people and not judge people. That's kind of where I'm at. And I kind of did do a little bit of a research type of thing about Tourette's and autism. And are they similar? I mean, that's really the Google question I asked. And here's exactly what I found. Yes, autism and Tourette syndrome are related, with a significant overlap in symptoms and potential shared genetic and neurobiological factors. Although they're distinct conditions, approximately 20 to 21% of children diagnosed with autism also meet the criteria for Tourette syndrome. Here's a more detailed explanation. Shared characteristics and overlap. Repetitive behaviors. Both autism and Tourette's can involve repetitive movements or actions such as hand flapping, rocking, or vocal tics. Social communication and difficulties. Individuals with Tourette's and autism may experience challenges in social interactions and communication, including difficulties in understanding social cues, maintaining eye contact, and engaging in reciprocal conversations. Sensory sensitivities. Both conditions can involve heightened or reduced sensitivity to sensory input like sounds, textures, or lights. Restricted interest. Individuals with both conditions may have a strong interest in specific topics or activities. Distinct conditions. Tics versus repetitive behaviors. While both conditions can involve repetitive behaviors, Tourette's is characterized by distinct involuntary motor and vocal tics. Whereas in autism, any tics experienced may resemble repetitive movements or sounds, but are usually purposeful and less sudden. Diagnostic criteria. Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by difficulties in social interaction, communication, and repetitive behaviors, while Tourette's is a neurological disorder characterized by tics. Onset. Tourette's is usually diagnosed between the ages of 3 and 9, with symptoms often peaking in the early teens and starting to abate in the early 20s. Autism symptoms are often noticeable in early childhood. Research and studies. Studies have shown that individuals with Tourette syndrome often exhibit traits commonly associated with autism, such as social and communication difficulties, restricted interest, and repetitive behaviors. A study headed by UC San Francisco and published on June 22, 2017 in the Journal of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry found that approximately 1 in 5 children with TS also met the criteria for autism. Researchers are investigating the potential overlapping pathopsychologies and genetic etiologies of these disorders, with recognition that chronic tic disorders, including Tourette syndrome, TS, and autism spectrum disorder, ASD, frequently co-occur and share clinical and behavior features. Some scientists have proposed that ADHD, OCD, autism, and Tourette syndrome exist along a spectrum, with ADHD on one end, OCD on the other, and autism and Tourette in the middle. The study showed the 1 in 5, this is the most interesting part. The studies showed that 1 in 5 children have Tourette's, that do have Tourette's have autism. That is interesting. I never knew that. I personally have never known anybody with Tourette syndrome. I've never went to school with people with Tourette's. I know plenty of people who are on the autism spectrum, but I have never met anybody with Tourette's. And that's probably why I've never heard of Tourette's till I watched her videos on Instagram, the TLC clips, and it's like, interesting. Like, I'm glad that actually went across my feed. Like, I'm glad that I'm able to learn about Tourette syndrome, like, and what it is and what it's like. Like, I'm so glad that I'm able to be exposed to that, because, I would have been totally jarred if somebody in my life had that. I'd have been like, what is going on here? I'm very confused. But now I know, this person has Tourette's. I'm not going to judge them now. And I think that makes that a lot easier for me, knowing that it's like, this is Tourette's. I'm not going to judge the person on it. It does, knowing what Tourette's is it makes it a lot easier to understand, be more compassionate when you know what something is. when you go through pain, those type of things. It's like when you've gone through tough times, you naturally sympathize with people who go through tough times because you've gone through tough times and you want to help other people get through tough times as well. So what do you think of what I said? Did I miss anything? And if I did, please let me know in the comment section. And I thank you so much for watching for today's video, and I'll see you in the next video, and I appreciate your support, and I'll see you in the next one.